Established in 1927 in response to the end of Prohibition and the temperance movement in the province, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario is one of the largest purchasers of alcoholic products in the world. With annual sales of close to $5 billion, the LCBO has returned nearly $1.75 billion in dividends back to the province. In addition to the retail operations, the LCBO is responsible for administering a Byzantine set of rules for importing wines and spirits, as well as licensing establishments where alcohol is sold. An advisory panel set up by the Liberal government is recommending changes that they say will maximize profit and expand the LCBO. David Jarvis is with the Aurora Strategy Group and is a former wine importer and expert on wines. He joins us now for more on this. So David, does the LCBO need to be sold?
Well, first of all, Marcel, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak. And yes, there are two fundamental reasons why the LCBO needs to be privatized. One, they distort the economics of the market. And we can go into that in a second with some examples. And two, it's just wrong. It's an offense to the dignity of the human being that people are in a position of power where they can prescribe and tell everyone what taste they should enjoy, what it is that they should like, and it's up to them to decide for them. This is the 21st century. I have a right to choose. They do not choose for me.
So a lot of people say that part of the LCBO's mandate is to make sure that liquor is properly dispensed to those who need to receive it, meaning those over 19 years of age, and that in order to make sure that alcohol consumption is properly distributed across the province, that's where the LCBO comes in.
What they have done, what the LCBO has done is to, in order to promote their own, what I call mantra, which is power and pay, what they've done is they've hijacked issues and they traffic in myths and mistruths about what it is that they do to ensure that they control the power and the pay. So we talk about this issue of protecting the public. Did you know that a couple of years ago, when they actually engaged a field audit group to come in and test the ability or the efficacy of being carded, that the LCBO was the worst? 1 out of 4 people, or minors, were able to acquire beer, for example. The brewer retails were better, and all the other wine stores were better, and all the agency stores were better. Again, this is a classic example of how you can surround yourself with an idea to promote it and create a myth that does not really exist. They distort the market. They make it uneconomic for most people. So let's take a look at a few of the economic negatives that are going on in the marketplace. Most people assume that the LCBO is the only place to buy wine. That's not true. That's utterly not true. There are approximately 640 or 650 LCBO outlets. There are 214, if you believe the 2012 report, but I think there's a few more, agency outlets. These are people contracted in the private sector to distribute booze, beer, and alcohol. 214. At the same time, there's another 480 wine outlets, private wine outlets that are selling wine and other products to people in the marketplace. They're not the only place. What they do is they keep saying, we're the only ones that can do it, when in point of fact, there are more people, more private entities actually selling wine in the marketplace than there are LCBO outlets.
So David, about 15 years ago, the Harris government tried to privatize the LCBO, and they ran into huge public opposition. Do you think it's time now that it's possible to look at selling off the LCBO?
I definitely believe that it is time, but one of the problems that the LCBO has done is that they keep telling everyone that they've promoted they've improved the stores. There's no question that the quality of the experience has improved. And that's how they've been able to create the support. They are misleading the public. What they are not telling you is that you do not have choice. You have their prescribed choice. They are not allowing you to do what you want to do. You cannot enter that particular business. And as a result, the the mechanism just begins to break down on itself. So what is necessary is to demythologize what is really going on here. We already have a quasi-private sector selling. What we need to do is make it available for everyone else.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about if, it's not time to sell off the LCBO. How can we make it better to serve the interests of consumers and the industry?
There's two key areas. One, they've got to stop saying that everything has to come through us. So, for example, as an agent, you petition the LCBO to actually say you want to import wine, but they will not let you participate in the consignment system until you've generated X number of sales for a previous number of years. But there's no reason to have that restriction. So what we need to do is to simply open it up so that if you want to get into the business of bringing in wine and selling it to people, which I think is a normal expectation in the 21st century, that a rational person is capable of organizing a business and going into business, we need to open it up so that that kind of participation is allowable. Wineries should be allowed to open additional stores. It shouldn't be a legacy monopoly for a couple of people who can sit there and expand. As you know, if you go to the Loblaws or whatever, you can see the odd wine store. It should not be a special privilege on a legacy basis for a couple of people. That's just outrageous. It's insane. And what it does is, again, it completely distorts the economics of what's going on in the marketplace.
Do you think that we should be seeing alcohol sales in Walmarts or in Costco or in...
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, you will get better choice. You will find people and companies and organizations, and you can arrange it so that it's not wide open competition. You can arrange it so that it's scaled in over a period of time. But at the end of the day, what you want, this is the private economic incentive, is I want to build a business. I'm going to service my customers, and people who establish those businesses will be sensitive to it. They will find the Chiantis that the people want to drink, not the Chiantis that have been prescribed for them. The real issue here is not that the LCBO creates a dividend of $1.6 billion. It's that it should be creating a dividend of $2 billion. The wastage, the inefficiency is staggering. And every single report, the one that came out a few years ago, said exactly the same thing. We can improve the margins. We can increase the sales revenue. We can increase the tax revenue. The CDC Howe report that just came out in August of this year said exactly the same thing. Virtually every single study says the same thing. We will be better off. But why doesn't it happen?
So, David, I have to cut you off on that point, but I want to have you back and watch what happens on this issue. That was David Jarvis from Aurora Strategy Group, who is talking about the LCBO and the future. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.